Hello, Visión Verde designers. This is our first screencast lesson. This one will be teaching you how to use Tinkercad to create repeat patterns that we will 3D print onto mesh as well as biomaterials. So I'm going to show you an example of what we're going to end up with. You are going to design a pattern, a repeat pattern, in a shape that you can scale the size and arrange in such a way that when we 3D print it, it is printed through a mesh, and then a second time we will also print it on a biomaterial. So here's some examples of the process. This will get attached to the build plate, the mesh, and then these will be 3D printed through it. And I'll show you some other examples. So here's the kind of the bracelet with elastic, and here's the back side. So again, this is the final outcome, something similar to this. So to get there, we are going to start off using a software called Tinkercad. I think some of you are familiar with it. What I'd like you to do is create a Tinkercad account if you haven't already. It's tinkercad.com. You can see it up here. And then you're going to click on Create New Design. There's a blue button here. I'm going to go ahead and click on this one since I already have something made. And I'm going to show you the process. I'm also going to share this file with you so that you can use this block in the back here as a template, because this is the maximum volume size that we're going to use. So just so you know, it's 50 millimeters deep by 60 millimeters wide, and the height of it is 20 millimeters. So that's the volume, the maximum volume area we can use. So that's part of our constraint. And let me get my mouse working here. And these are some samples that I created earlier. So what you're going to do is create one unit tile. I'm going to delete these actually so we can just start with a blank canvas. Okay. So in Tinkercad, you have this blue plane. This is the build plane. It simulates what the 3D printer actually builds on. And this is our work plane here. You can orbit by right-clicking on your mouse, and you can orbit your view. You can also go over to this cube in the top left and go to a particular view orientation. Okay, so top view is often very useful. All right, so on the far right, we have basically an elevator shaft of volume forms that you can use, and you can scroll down and explore them. There is also a menu for different palettes that you can go through. You can explore those, but we're going to do something simple right now. So I'm going to bring an object over. You just click and drag over to the work plane, and then you can have a volume form. So I'm going to make this smaller, and as you can see, when you click on it, all of a sudden points appear. I can click on this black point and make it thinner. Probably don't want to make it any thinner than maybe 3 millimeters. You can also type in the numbers here. And I'm going to change the height by dragging on this little dot here. The cone raises your form up and down off the build plane. Okay, so I have a triangle. And I can look at this as if it was a scale that I'm going to repeat. But when I 3D print it, I don't want it to print straight up and down. So I'm going to rotate my piece. And if you look at this shape, when I click on it, there's some rotational arrows that show me different ways to rotate my design. And that is because we're in a 3D Cartesian coordinate system. We have 3 different options. I'm going to rotate it in this direction, and I can just type in 45 and hit enter. And it will rotate, and I can also rotate it this way, 180, hold the shift key. Okay, so that's pretty much an orientation I would like. I might just, I don't know, maybe pitch it a little less. Okay, when I 3D print this, I want it to be flat on the build plane. I don't want that empty air gap there. So to make that flat, I'm going to grab this hollow box, make it flatter, shorter. I'm going to move it over, and notice I'm constantly orbiting my design so I can see it from different angles. Okay, so now I have my negative box intersecting with my scale. I'm going to rotate so I can group the both of them, not including the thing in the back, just group those two, and go up to the right where there's a grouping function. You can also just type Control-G. And now you can see that my scale has a flat bottom that worked really well when I want to attach it to the mesh. So I'm going to grab the black cone and push it down so that is flush with the build table. Great. So now I have one scale. I can move it over here, and I can do Command D, Control D, basically, and duplicate it, and duplicate it again. And then if I want to make a couple rows, I can do Control D and offset it just a little. I'm going to orbit to see how far, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to move it in this direction, and scoot it this way. That's just, in general, what you could do. Okay, so now I'm going to group these all together, and I'm going to make sure it fits within my box. So it's a little too big, so I can hold the Shift key and grab a corner and scale it, or I can just squash it a little bit. I don't mind if they get a little taller. I'm going to rotate to the side. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to delete this outer box. And there I have something that I can 3D print on our mesh, our bacterial cellulose. I could actually do one more row if I wanted. You would have more space to do that. So let me just back up a little. I'm going to show you another way to do this. I'm going to push this box a little further back. So on this elevator shaft over here, there's a tool called Scribble that's really fun. And I'd like you to just explore it even if you don't end up using it. But basically what it does, it gives you a pen tool that enables you to create free-form shapes that then become extruded. So I'm going to do, I don't know, this strange amoeba shape. And in the far top right, you can see it render what it looks like as an extrusion. So I kind of think of it as like a pasta maker. I don't think there's a really easy way to do a fill in this. I wish there was just a fill function. I don't think there is. If you find it, let me know. But I'm basically just filling it by hand. So this is another option of creating your unit tile. All right, so maybe I will just fill it in a little bit. And I'll leave part of it open. So let me just get this part solid. And then I'm going to click Done in the bottom right. There's a little Done section, little button. So I'm just going to leave it like this. And then I'm going to move the screen a little bit so you can see that there's a little Done button right here. I'm just going to say Done. And then it pops me back into my 3D view of my forms. I'm going to thin this out before I do any rotation on it. Otherwise, if you try to thin it out later, you're going to get distortion. So to get it to the thickness you want, and then you can rotate it. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. This is really odd looking shape, but that's okay. Put an angle you want. Go this way. Bring it up higher. Again, the black cone elevates your shapes. Right now, my point of connection is on an angle. So I'm going to bring that box in again. I'm going to squash it, expand it, and I'm going to group it with my design. Go up to group so that I have a flat surface that will adhere to the mesh and the biomaterials. I'm going to push it down to flush on the plane and scale it down. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So now I can do Control D to duplicate it. And then I could grab all of them if I want and do Control D and use my arrow keys to push it back. And there's a flip control up here where I can mirror reflect and choose in what orientation I want to mirror reflect. I'm going to choose this way. And I'm going to rotate to the side. I think the biggest tip in Tinkercad is when you're designing to be orbiting a lot. It really helps you group things easier and to see if you actually are pushing things in a direction you want them to be. I'm going to group these and duplicate, Control D, and push it back. So now I've got my multiple rows of shapes. Just push this back a little bit. Okay, so that was your example of how to create your units, your repeating patterns that will be printed, 3D printed on mesh, as well as bacterial cellulose that's been layered with some other cellulose materials. So we'll do some experiments um, in the Visión Verde workshops. So try to get this done soon, and we will be 3D printing them during the workshops. All right, team. Thank you for watching, and just give me any questions. Email me if you have any questions, and I can also loan you my computer if you need it. So let me know. Thank you. Bye.